My girlfriend was assaulted and became pregnant. I broke up with her because she wanted to keep the baby. This sounds really horrible, but please hear me out. Me 30-year-old male, in a really shit situation. 2 months ago, my girlfriend was attacked. It happened in a park. She didn't want to report it and went into a full breakdown. She wouldn't speak to the police or go to the hospital. I couldn't force her, so I just stayed with her. She was in a really bad state, and I've been by her side, listening to her, helping her. We've been to therapy, and she knows I'm there for her. She has a history of depression, and I've been really worried. She was obviously in a really shit state since. She would barely eat or sleep, and she'd often wake up in the middle of the night crying or screaming. I've been with her, by her side, listening to her, helping her with whatever she needed. Sometimes she'd just stare at the walls for hours, lost in her thoughts. We went to therapy together, trying to find some way to navigate through the mess. I wanted her to know I'm there for her, no matter what. She's got a history of depression, and seeing her like this has had me really worried. I try to be strong for her, but there are moments when I feel completely powerless. Last week, we found out she was pregnant. The moment we saw the test results, it was like the world stopped. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and helplessness all at once. I was abroad for 2 months before the attack on work, and I came back early to care for her. So the baby definitely isn't mine. She is 100% sure it's the attacker. We had hoped it was just a false alarm, but the tests don't lie. The realization hit her hard, and she broke down again. The fact that this pregnancy is a constant reminder of that horrific night is tearing her apart. She feels trapped, and I don't know how to help her escape this nightmare. So we had a discussion. It was one of the hardest conversations we've ever had. She's a devout Catholic, and her faith means everything to her. Initially, we decided on an abortion. It seemed like the only way for her to start healing and move forward. But after she spoke to her mother, everything changed. Her mother told her that under no circumstances should she abort, saying it would be a grave sin. After that talk, she decided to keep the baby, saying that it isn't the baby's fault. She believes that every life is sacred, no matter the circumstances. I could see the turmoil in her eyes, torn between her faith and the trauma she's been through. It was like watching her heart break all over again. I flat out told her that I would not help raise a baby of a guy who attacked her. The words felt harsh, but I needed her to understand my stance. She cried and begged me not to leave. Her tears were heartbreaking, and I hated seeing her in so much pain, but I couldn't back down. I told her that she is the one making the choice. Either she keeps the baby and I leave, or she aborts the baby and I stay. I would not let this go. I couldn't see myself raising a child that would be a constant reminder of the worst thing that ever happened to her. It felt like an impossible situation, but I needed her to understand that I couldn't compromise on this. The decision was her, but I had to be honest about what I could and couldn't handle. She didn't want either of those things to happen, so I told her we were done. I feel shit. Was I wrong? Update 1. I'll post the update first, since there's been some change since I last posted. Then I'll respond to some general points made from the last thread and the ton of PMs I received. Yesterday, I received a call from my girlfriend. She was crying, and she begged me to listen to her. I told her that I still care for her, and that I'll obviously listen to what she has to say. She told me that a few days after I told her we were done, she called up her mother to talk about this. She needed someone to confide in, and she thought her mother would understand. Apparently, what happened before was that she pretty much decided on aborting. She felt it was the best way to start healing and move forward. But then, when she spoke to her mother, everything changed. Her mother told her that under no circumstances should she abort, saying it would be a grave sin and that she would regret it for the rest of her life. She even said that I was actually manipulating her to have the abortion, making it seem like I was a villain in all of this. Her mother went on to say that if she aborted the child, she would no longer consider my girlfriend as her daughter. Those words cut deep. She felt trapped, torn between her mother's harsh judgment and her own trauma. The weight of her mother's disapproval was too much for her to bear, leaving her feeling isolated and overwhelmed. After I left her, my girlfriend called her mom up to talk about what went on. She needed to make sense of everything and hoped her mother would offer some comfort. My girlfriend said that she desperately wanted to abort the baby, explaining how the pregnancy was a constant reminder of the attack. But her mother was relentless. She again said that if she went through with the abortion, this would be the last time they would ever speak. She made it clear that the decision would sever their relationship forever. My girlfriend broke down on the phone, sobbing uncontrollably, feeling more alone than ever. Her mother kept pressing her, asking over and over what she would do. It was like she was being forced to choose between her own sanity and her family. The conversation ended when my girlfriend, choking on her tears, said she didn't know what to do. The weight of that ultimatum left her feeling completely devastated and lost. Then she started texting. Her hands were trembling as she typed, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Finally, she sent her mom a text saying she was going to abort. She hoped that maybe, just maybe, her mom would understand and offer some kind of support or at least a compassionate response. Instead, the reply was swift and brutal. She was blocked immediately, cut off without another word. The person she had always turned to in times of need had shut her out completely. My girlfriend then called me and told me everything. She will be having an abortion in 3 weeks. I discussed this with my girlfriend, and we both completely agreed that I had not manipulated her in any way. We talked about everything that had happened, from the attack to the pressures from her mother. She appreciated that I put my foot down, recognizing that my stance had helped her see things more clearly. She admitted that if I hadn't been firm about my boundaries, she might have ended up having a baby who would remind her of the worst time of her life. Those were her words, not mine. She expressed relief that I had been there to support her through this agonizing decision, acknowledging that it was the right choice for both of us, despite how difficult it had been. She further went on to say that I am the best thing that has ever happened to her, and that she knew that even if she no longer had a mom, if she had me, she could get through this. I broke down at this point. I love her so much. Seeing her in so much pain has been unbearable. In truth, I probably would have gone back to her and raised the baby with her, even though I knew I'd resent it deep down. I couldn't stand the thought of losing her. I made the original thread to get some backing rather than anything, to see if I had made the right decision. I needed to hear from others, to find some validation and reassurance that I wasn't a monster for making such an ultimatum. The outpouring of support and perspectives from others helped me realize that standing my ground was necessary for both of us. It was a way to protect our future and help her move forward from the trauma. I'm so relieved things have turned out the way they have. Also, screw any mother who places religion over their own child. Friggin' lunatics. Now to respond to some of your points from the last thread. 1. No, my girlfriend did not cheat on me. I am almost certain about this, not only because she had the conscience of a fragile angel, but also because we both know each other's schedules really well, and we often talk to friends who can corroborate timings. Moreover, her roommate took photos of my girlfriend after she came home assaulted. It's not rough sex, as some of you dicks put it. 2. I don't give a rat's arse if you think abortion is a sin or the killing of a baby. Come and raise the baby, or give us money to raise the baby, or hire us a live-in maid to tend to my girlfriend's every need while she is pregnant if you're so sanctimonious. Talk the talk, then walk the walk, you wanking to baboons. 3. My girlfriend was absolutely clear she wanted to raise the baby, probably influenced by the mom. 4. Thanks for all the people telling me I did the right thing. It was really difficult. I'm very glad it turned out the way it has, though. 5. To the people who PM me telling me I'm a monstrous baby killer, I fail to see what my hobbies have to do with this issue. Update 2. I was hoping to post here again after the abortion. Still scheduled for 2 weeks' time, but I thought I should provide an update on some recent events from a mother from the pits of Satan's rectum. On Saturday, I answered my door and stood face to face with two police officers. My heart immediately sank. They asked me if I was who I was, and I replied that I was. I couldn't help but feel a surge of anxiety, wondering what this was about. They then said they were looking for my girlfriend. I called her over, my voice shaking a bit, and she appeared, looking confused and scared. The police officer said that he needed to have a word with her. My girlfriend's face went pale, and I could see the fear in her eyes. I tried to stay calm for her sake, but I could feel my own worry rising. I stepped back to let the officers in, hoping that whatever this was about, it wouldn't make things even worse for her. The officers then split, one taking the girlfriend to the living room. We let them in, and the other took me into my bedroom. The officer who took me started asking me questions about how long my girlfriend had been here. He wanted to know if she had any contact with anyone else, and if she had left the house at all. His questions seemed endless, each one more invasive than the last. I answered them all, trying to stay composed despite my growing frustration. I could sense the suspicion in his tone, and it made me uneasy. After answering a few more questions, I finally asked what this was all about. The officer just said they received a report to check on my girlfriend. My heart raced as I wondered who could have made such a report and why. When I pressed further and asked who reported it, the officer said he couldn't say. His response left me feeling even more anxious and confused. It felt like we were being scrutinized for something we had no control over. After a while, the other officer was done, and they both left. The moment the door closed behind them, my girlfriend burst into tears. She told me that she was outright asked if she was in danger and if I had been hurting her. The officers even asked if she was being held against her will. She said no to everything, of course, but the questions had shaken her. She felt violated and scared. Then she revealed that the police had received a call from her mother, claiming she might be in danger and that I could be abusive to her. The accusation hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe her own mother would go that far. It felt like a betrayal, and the fact that she would try to use the police to drive a wedge between us made me furious. My girlfriend was devastated, caught between her loyalty to her mother and the reality of our situation. I was fucking livid. The moment she told me what her mother had done, rage boiled up inside me. I couldn't believe the nerve of her mother, accusing me of something so vile and trying to use the police to interfere in our lives. I immediately said I was going to press charges against her. For what? I didn't know exactly. Harassment, probably. Anything to hold her accountable for this madness. I couldn't just stand by and let her get away with trying to destroy us like this. My girlfriend looked at me with wide, tear-filled eyes, clearly torn between wanting to protect her mother and understanding my anger. The betrayal stung deeply, and I needed to do something, anything to fight back against the injustice of it all. My girlfriend begged me to not, and said that it would all just blow over, and that she just needs time to calm down. What a theft. She sent the police to my house to get me arrested. How is that sane thinking? I couldn't wrap my head around it. The sheer audacity of it all left me reeling. I could lose my job if I was arrested and charged. My career, my livelihood, everything I had worked so hard for could be shattered because of her unfounded accusations. What the hell is she thinking? It felt like she was trying to ruin my life and our relationship all in one fell swoop. The implications were terrifying, and the fact that someone so close to my girlfriend could be so reckless and malicious was beyond comprehension. The weight of it all pressed down on me, and I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a precipice. I told my girlfriend that if the mother does anything like this again, I will definitely press charges. So the girlfriend decides on Sunday to talk to the mom to not do anything like this again. They had a conversation for about 2 minutes, then I started hearing sobs. Immediately, I walked into the room, saw my girlfriend was crying, still holding the phone against her ear. I plucked her phone from her hand and held her for a bit as I heard hello from the phone. Then I put it on me and said, "You're a disgrace of a mother," and hung up. Then I held the girlfriend for what felt like an hour before we started talking. Apparently, the mother was telling girlfriend how if she continues with the abortion, she will never see the mother again or her brother or her deceased father, who is in heaven, even though he died a drink-violent alcoholic who beat girlfriend. But hey, repent your sins at death. Am I right? Because girlfriend would be going to damnation. I told my girlfriend that if she was going to hell, then she should save me a seat and we'd be nice and toasty together. I love her smile. What do you think, if anything, should I do about the mother? No doubt my words to her will have some reactions. Update 3. I just wanted to update folk on this whole saga. This will be my final update. A few days ago, the abortion was carried out. During the weeks beforehand, my girlfriend went to a counselor and talked to a nurse about why she wanted an abortion. She was also tested for any STIs. She's clear. She went ahead with the abortion after getting the all clear. A few days ago, it was successfully carried out. They went for the surgical abortion method, which involved using a vacuum to suck the pregnancy out. My girlfriend said it was pretty painless, and she was able to return home after just a few hours. When she came home, she cried and cried and cried. The floodgates opened, and all the pain and relief came pouring out at once. I held her tightly, feeling the weight of her emotions in every sob that racked her body. She says she feels like a huge weight had been lifted, and for the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. She can finally look to move on with her life. The burden of the unwanted pregnancy, the constant reminder of the attack, was finally gone. She told me how she felt like she could breathe again, how the shadows of that terrible night were starting to recede. It was a first step towards healing, and even though we knew there was a long road ahead, this moment felt like when she came home. She cried and cried and cried. The floodgates opened, and all the pain and relief came pouring out at once. I held her tightly, feeling the weight of her emotions in every sob that racked her body. She says she feels like a huge weight had been lifted, and for the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. She can finally look to move on with her life. The burden of the unwanted pregnancy, the constant reminder of the attack, was finally gone. She told me how she felt like she could breathe again, how the shadows of that terrible night were starting to recede. It was a first step towards healing, and even though we knew there was a long road ahead, this moment felt like when she came home. She cried and cried and cried. The floodgates opened, and all the pain and relief came pouring out at once. I held her tightly, feeling the weight of her emotions in every sob that racked her body. She says she feels like a huge weight had been lifted, and for the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. She can finally look to move on with her life. The burden of the unwanted pregnancy, the constant reminder of the attack, was finally gone. She told me how she felt like she could breathe again, how the shadows of that terrible night were starting to recede. It was a first step towards healing, and even though we knew there was a long road ahead, this moment felt like a turning point. We took the whole week off work, needing some time to ourselves to process everything and just be together. Yesterday, we went camping. It rained, of course, because that's just our luck. But even the rain couldn't dampen our spirits. We huddled together in the tent, listening to the sound of raindrops pattering against the fabric. It felt cozy and safe, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past few months. While in the tent, she talked about how difficult life was sometimes. She opened up about her struggles, the pain, and the moments when she felt like she couldn't go on. But she also talked about how she was really glad things turned out the way they did. Despite everything, she felt a sense of relief and a newfound strength. She said that even though things were bad, she came out the other side, probably stronger than before. Her resilience amazed me, and I couldn't help but feel hopeful for the future. We knew there would still be challenges ahead, but in that moment, huddled together in our little tent, it felt like we could face anything as long as we were together. She's amazing, man. Seriously, update on the mum. So my girlfriend received a call from her mum, who was asking if she went through with the abortion. My girlfriend and I have an agreement that if her mum calls, either hang up or give it to me. We decided on this to protect her from any more emotional manipulation. In this instance, she answered the call out of habit and didn't know what to say. The moment she heard her mother's voice, she froze. She looked at me with wide eyes, panic written all over her face, and handed me the phone without saying a word. I took the phone and braced myself. Her mother immediately launched into a tirade, demanding to know if the abortion had been carried out. I told her that the abortion went perfectly. As soon as I said those words, she unleashed a stream of curses at me, her voice dripping with venom. I listened for about a minute, letting her get it all out, a slight smile playing on my lips at the absurdity of it all. When she finally paused for breath, I calmly said, "How Jesus of you," and hung up. My girlfriend didn't find it funny. Anyway, that's it. The silence that followed was heavy, but it felt like a small victory. My girlfriend gave me a grateful look, relief washing over her face. We knew her mother wouldn't take the news well, but standing up to her felt like reclaiming a bit of our own power. Good luck to everyone in their lives. Also, if you're going to message and insult me via PM, just be warned, I've killed a baby before. In your opinion, what do you think about this story? Please leave your comment below to let me know.